Hello, everyone, and welcome to our open house this evening, Sweet Sobriety. We're also here to learn all about our Sweet Sobriety's upcoming workshop with Vanessa. She's going to share what it's all about. If you're new to Sweet Sobriety, I'm Clarissa Kennedy. I'm one of the co-founders of this recovery community that we have. I'm a clinical social worker. I also have my own personal journey of recovery. I'm trained in addictions, and I was working in the field probably now for about 20 years. So we're very passionate about what we do here, and we want to give you as many resources as possible. And since we know there's not one way to recover, we want to give you multitude ways of recovery. And IFS is a modality that has helped so many people. And so Vanessa is going to share more about that in a bit, but first I'm going to introduce you to Molly, my partner in crime. Take it away.
Hey, so for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Molly Paintshop, co-founder of Sweet Sobriety. And many of your faces and names are familiar to us, but in case somebody's watching on the recording, we wanted to make sure we reintroduced ourselves and we reintroduce our program to you as well. So Clarissa and I were asked back in 2020 to join Dr. Jennifer Unwin, Heidi Yver, and Charlotte and Frida in Sweden on this journey of creating a program, or not necessarily creating a program, but taking the programs that we had already designed and have them studied. And so from that, Sweet Sobriety was born. And just a little plug, because I am so proud of us. We do now have 2 papers published on that study. The first one being the initial results, pre and post intervention, and this one being that 12-month follow-up. And it's really, really, really significant. I just want to emphasize that when you go to an inpatient or residential treatment for substance use disorder, at least in the US, within 1 year of leaving that treatment, there is an 80% of people will return to use in some way, shape, or form. And what we found, and we weren't even an inpatient or residential program, we had none of that. It was all online. It was 10 weeks online. We have a 62% remaining in remission rate. So 62% of the participants who continued to respond a year later, and we had 95 people still showing up to give us data a year later, which is very significant. 62% of them were still in remission. So we're pretty proud. We're pretty dang proud of Sweet Sobriety and where we started and where we're going and how we're growing, which is having these kind of workshops like Vanessa is going to give us. So like Clarissa said, I am a co-founder. I've been in the business. I've been in this field for 20 years as well, doing mental health and substance use disorder treatment. And the last 6 years have really been dedicated to food now at this point. So Joan is here. So I do want to give the opportunity to introduce or allow Joan to introduce herself. She is one of our coaches as well. So I just wanted to hand it over to Joan real quick. Introduce yourself and let people know who you are.
Thanks, Molly. I'm Joan Bjornsgaard, and I was one of that original group and the follow-up, and I've been sober for over 3 years now, and I still live and eat sugar-free. It's very sustainable. I began coaching over a year ago, and I also have a strong background of 33 years in mental health and substance abuse as a counselor, and I'm still an active therapist. Only I practice in Oklahoma, but I do coaching nationally and internationally. And I'm just happy to be part of Sweet Sobriety. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Yeah, I was just going to say we have several other coaches as well. They just could not be here or haven't made it yet. Elaine is here, but I think she's driving. So Elaine is one of our coaches. She just actually wrapped up facilitating one of the foundation's sessions that we had going on Monday nights. So Elaine is one of our coaches, and so is CJ, who couldn't be here tonight. And then we have 2 interns right now who are in the UK. And as you can imagine, I think it's like 10 p.m. or later for them right now. And so that is Sarah Hood and Sharon Craig, and they are currently facilitating a live session of foundations that we actually just wrapped up a little while ago. It's currently running Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. So they couldn't be here, obviously, the timing. I did want to give them just a quick kind of, I guess, overview of what we do at Sweet Sobriety. Again, for anybody who isn't aware of what we do, maybe you're watching on the recording, maybe you're brand new to all of this, maybe you're just here to hear about Vanessa and her workshop, and we're all about that too. We just want to make sure that you knew who we are, why we do this work, why we think it's so important, all of that. So I'm going to quickly figure out, oh my gosh, my technology is failing me right now. That happens sometimes. Don't worry. That you guys are my practice run before I have group a little bit later. So hopefully I'll get all my technology bugs out now. And then when Sunny sees me later tonight, I won't be fumbling around, but Lord knows I will be. So, all right. So when you first go to www.sweetsobriety.ca, which is our website, this is what you're going to see unless you are a logged in member. And this is really important. I love when people go here because it gives us the opportunity to put Vanessa front and center. So right now, the Transform Within workshop is right here front and center. You can just click the image and it will take you to the page that tells you all about it. It gives you a little video and it allows you to register for that group. If you keep scrolling down here, you can have a free preview of Foundations, which we were just talking about, Module 3, and this is cravings. So for anybody who struggles with cravings, we are giving you the full foundation, that full module, all the videos, worksheets, it's right there because we believe in the program so much. And so that's there for you anytime you want. You can join us for coaching 5 times a week. Or we have groups 5 times a week. So about 20 a month, just depending on the month and how those weeks kind of work out. And that is $50 US a month. And so you can come to as many or as little or few of those groups as works for you. We do all kinds of things in those groups, including education, processing. We have open groups, question and answer, that kind of thing. Along with the group coaching, we also have free peer support groups that are not currently on this page. They're under our resources. And then within those, most of those groups are facilitated by our peer support specialists. So Karen Miller is one of them, and one of our peer support specialists. She's here tonight, and she can certainly introduce herself too if she wants to, just so you get kind of a feel for who everybody is. And then you'll see our Foundations course there. So if you want to learn more, as you scroll down, this holiday guide is free. We just went through Easter. Summer is coming up with lots of holidays. This is really tied more toward some of those more traditional holidays that we seem to run into trouble with. But obviously the tools that are within that guide are going to translate to whatever holiday or family barbecue or baby shower, or whatever it is that you need to do. To the right, you're going to see our Sweet Sobriety Success Manual. Again, another freebie for you if you just want a place to get started. Don't forget to check out our podcast and get on our newsletter. Now, when you log in, sorry, I have to move this bar that keeps popping out. When you log in, it looks a little different, and you have access to those free items again, including some other things like understanding your emotions, some videos from some presentations that were done by a gal that Clarissa knows, and her Ina. How do you say her first name? I was never there.
Ina, you got it.
Yeah, Ina. And and the only requirement that we ask is that you sign in, which just gives us your email, and then you're on our email list, and then you get to get lovely emails from us. But if you keep scrolling on down, you're going to see any courses that you might be signed up for. You're going to see all the courses available to you. So ones that you can sign up for, they're going to tell you how much they are. So again, the workshop is $50 US, but here's the free one. Here's group coaching, $50. And when you go into any of these courses, I'm just going to pick Foundations just because it's easy enough. Well, if I refresh, I thought I signed myself up for group. There we go. I just want to quickly show folks what it looks like when you sign up for group and you go into group. so you would come to group because you're going to get the link in an email for the Zoom, but we record all the groups. So we have these archived recordings, ones that we're not going to delete. So you can always go back and look up any of these topics that we covered and watch the videos. You just hit start over here. And then you'll see, we haven't done a very good job of deleting. We usually only keep about 4 to 6 weeks, and we have not deleted since the beginning of the year because it's so slow and it takes so much time. But so, for example, you could go in and watch any of these videos under any of these days and times. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick is if you ever want to know more about like other resources that are out there available to you, all of our free peer support groups, like I said, are listed here. You can just click them and they will take you right to the meeting day and time of. So if it's Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and you want to go to that meeting, just click that link. It will take you right to that Zoom meeting. We give 12-step meeting options too. If you're looking for a 12-step option, podcasts we think you should listen to. Of course, Food Junkies and Food Shrinks are there because, again, we're going to shamelessly plug ourselves since we pay for it out of our pockets. Some self-help books, some social media, some residential treatments, maybe. So just some things that are there. And then, of course, if you ever want any more information, just let us know. So with that, I'm going to stop the little tour. I just wanted to kind of let you know what it looks like if you ever hop onto the website where you can find more information, all of that. So with that, I'm going to give it back over to Clarissa.
Awesome. And I am going to introduce Vanessa so she can let us know all about this workshop she's going to be running. Something I learned about her today is that she speaks fluent in 5 languages. This is true, Vanessa? 5 languages. Wow. So Vanessa is based in Australia. She is a counselor and psychotherapist. She specializes in food addiction, disordered eating, and complex trauma. So she has an international background, as you now know, and she really draws from her personal journey with disordered eating and addiction and integrates lived experience with professional expertise. She's a certified food addiction counselor, and she has completed extensive training in internal family systems therapy, reaching level 2 certification. Her approach is trauma-informed, which we love at Sweet Sobriety, and person-centered, which we also love. And so she combines modalities like CBT and DBT and somatic practices along with polyvagal theory. So I am going to hand this over to Vanessa to kind of let us know what is your workshop about and who is it for?
Thank you. So lovely to be with you here today and, to catch up with you. And I'm so proud of you guys at Sweet Sobriety about all the work you do and the paper you've published. So that's wonderful. I just want to also say that, 5 languages. So my Arabic is not so great, but apart from that, my other languages are good. So Hebrew, German, English, what's the other one? French, and a tiny bit of Arabic. So yes, this workshop. So I am excited about this workshop because over the years of being involved in the field of food addiction coaching and counseling, I have developed a real interest in doing the deeper work, the deeper layers of recovery that are part of recovery, right? Eventually, we kind of get deeper and deeper and deeper, and we, not all of us, but many of us might do some deeper therapy. And I found that in my practice, there are lots of people who do want to do that deeper work. And I felt that it went, it had to go beyond just recovery coaching. And so that's where I began training in trauma-informed work and also internal family systems, which is a psychotherapy that you can essentially use for anything really, but it is definitely very effective for complex trauma as well as addictions and disordered eating. So yes, IFS, what it is about, I'll just very briefly explain what it's about. It's a psychotherapy that is very popular right now, even though it's been around since the 1980s, but it has really taken off recently. And was developed by a family therapist called Richard Schwartz or Dick Schwartz, and particularly with people with eating disorders. And he realized that it's not just families, like real families in the therapy room that are a system, and they sort of, they have this little dance, these dynamics that they operate within. It's also people have parts that they talk about. They're like saying things like, there is a part of me that really doesn't want to binge, but there is a part of me that just finds itself binging all the time. So what's going on there, right? So this is very normal. And IFS basically says it's absolutely normal for the human mind to be multiple. The human mind by nature is multiple. And so this is, even though we say it's a psychotherapy, it's more of a philosophy and a lifestyle for many people nowadays. And it's very non-pathologizing. And that's why I love it so much. You don't need any diagnosis. There's nothing wrong with any parts of you. It's just that some parts have developed certain coping strategies to protect us, to protect the system. So when I'm talking IFS, I am a system of parts, not just me, Vanessa, but I'm a system. And I have a self as well. And so all of that, I'll tell you all about that in the course, of course. So what is this about? Transform within self-practice with internal family systems. Basically, what I did there is I designed a 3-week practice where we have 3 live sessions together. Each session is 75 minutes. And I wanted to focus this time on developing self-practice skills, because it's lovely to be able to go to a therapist. It's definitely a great way. I'm biased because I am one, and I also go to my own therapy, but it's also great if you can do some self-practice with these tools, right? And so I want to give you tools for self-practice to integrate IFS into your recovery toolbox. So that's what this whole workshop is all about. And essentially what that gives you, I hope, is you'll be able to recognize your wounds or your emotional triggers, recognize your parts, and you'll be able to kind of see what drives them and see what makes you tick as a person. What are all these different parts of you involved in whatever it is you're doing, whether it's food related or non-food related. And I'll teach you ways of dialoguing with those parts by way of journaling, as well as by way of externalizing parts. So for example, drawing them or putting them on a map, and representing them in some different, symbolic way, so that, when we kind of externalize parts, that's when we can develop relationships with those parts. And in developing relationships with those parts, as opposed to totally being taken over by those parts, we begin to have more space around what's happening inside. We begin to be able to see, aha, that's my inner critic here, what is this part wanting me to know? Why is it so important that it keeps criticizing me, right? And we talked about this last year, because we did a workshop on this last year with you guys. And so you will also learn a little bit about, how do I apply IFS in relational triggers, in relationships. So when I have a relational trigger with another person and their sets of parts, how do I react? Or in that moment, how can I turn things around so I don't react, but I respond, so to speak, right? So I sort of go and do a bit of what we call in IFS a U-turn. I look back at inside of myself in that moment, or after the moment of, say, having a heated argument with somebody or having some sort of a conflict or difficulty, and noticing what parts were involved. And next time, how can I maybe do things differently? And what are these parts needing from me to do things differently? And what's really, really, really so important about IFS is that because it's so non-pathologizing, it's all about building compassion, right? We want to understand those parts of ourselves and why they do what they do and what are they protecting. And so, you know, we often talk about building self-compassion as a really important part of recovery. And then the concept of self-compassion is so elusive. So for so many of us, particularly when we come out of addiction or trauma, and we really don't have much self-compassion. Quite often we have systems that have very, very strong critical kind of parts or scared parts. And so I find that IFS for me has been the most effective way of gaining or developing self-compassion, because I'm developing a relationship with all of these different parts of me, understanding them, seeing where they're coming from, what drives them, how long have they been doing what they're doing, and what made it necessary to do what they're doing, which is why my behaviors might be so ingrained. So with this practice, we begin to just get a lot more self-compassion, and the inner dialogue turns into a gentler inner dialogue. So it's almost like what some other kind of, you know, psychological disciplines or even peer groups talk about when they say self-parenting, reparenting, right? It's sort of like the self, as in me, Vanessa, that sees all of my parts and understands all of my parts, right? I am able to reparent them. I'm able to tell them, hey, it's okay, you know, I'm running the show and you guys can help me, but you don't have to drive the bus. I've got this, right? So it's very empowering. It's a very empowering, very gentle, very compassionate philosophy. And so that is really what this workshop is about. You'll get slides and some recordings as well. And I understand that, you know, even if you can't be live, then you'll get the recordings afterwards. That's all good. And, you know, who is this for? Well, it's for anyone really who's curious about internal family systems. And, you know, obviously here in this context, we're in food addiction or eating disorder recovery. That's ideal, but this whole course can also be taken by anyone who's just on a journey and wants to learn more about internal family systems. And I really hope that you'll walk away with some tools which are practical. So for example, you know, this morning I was doing my writing as I do every morning, and, you know, we can do a little bit of journaling. What part is up right now? And why is this part up? What is it needing from me today? And it just gives us that opportunity to integrate those tools into our daily practice so we can do them on our own. And if we want a little bit of extra support or deeper work, we can then go to a therapist. But we've got that understanding and those tools to do things alone on a day-to-day basis as well. So I think that's all I need to say about this. But if there are any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Vanessa about the course, or maybe you're already like curious about a part of you? I know my inner critic part will probably be very scared of this. These interventions, it's already nervous over here. But yeah, does anyone have any questions for Vanessa?
I do. I have a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you're able to answer it or not, but I'm curious to know, like, what are your best hopes, Vanessa, for like what transformation people might, you know, like go through or expect if they actually are able to fully engage with like the materials and the live sessions, that kind of thing. Like, what are your best hopes for that transformation on the other side?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. And, you know, transformation is a big word, right? So I'm often cautious when I use this word. I'm like, I'm not promising, you know, like a sort of amazing kind of, you know, healing. I really don't like that sort of, you know, those types of promises. We all know that recovery is a long road and there's lots of ups and downs. And in many ways, it's very wonderful as well, because we get to learn so much about ourselves. For me, what that means, what I'm trying to say here, transforming within, is that what we do with IFS is we're building secure relationships, secure attachment inside of ourselves, right? So we always talk about secure attachment outside of ourselves with other people, but what about inside, right? How am I talking to myself insight. What is going on when I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm reaching for the food and I'm not even knowing what I'm doing? You know, what's happening? What are the voices in my head telling me at this point? What am I feeling? And so my best hopes are that you will become aware of the parts of you. You will be able to use IFS as another tool of building awareness around what your actions, your motivations, your feelings, your sensations are. And you are then better able to navigate them. You're able to not hopefully say, oh, I've done that thing again, right? But to notice that there is a part that is criticizing you for having done that thing again, and there is a part who did that thing. And both of those parts have certain positive intentions for you, protective, caring intentions, but they were, you know, at odds in terms of the way that they did that. And so that causes a lot of inner conflict. So my best hopes are that you'll walk away with tools to continue to create inner peace. So I'm not saying you will have inner peace, you know, by the end of this 3-week course. No, it's more about you've got the tools so that you can build inner peace within yourself if you're using those practices of, say, journaling or externalizing mapping parts and just having ongoing inner dialogues to create those relationships. And so with that, it brings more, you know, what does that imply in terms of peace? It implies better regulation of our emotions, you know, being able to cope with triggers or, you know, strong emotions, even cravings, right? In a way that we can kind of, you know, see better what is going on and not just see, that's a part, but having a relationship with this part, right? It's okay. I know you're anxious right now, right? What do you need from me? Yeah. So really that would be my best hopes, is that you get the tools to be able to create those internal dialogues that build more secure attachment and build more self-compassion.
Amazing. Now, we had somebody write that they took your IFS workshop last year. Is it the same course?
Yeah, great question. No, so you will with this course, you'll get a video which is an intro to IFS. So it's like a 20-minute video. And that is an overlap with last year's course because it gives you like just the overview of what is IFS, right? And ideally you want to watch that before we start so that you've got a refresh, or if this is new to you entirely, then you've got an understanding of what IFS even is. And there'll be a guided practice in that 20-minute video as well, just a tiny one. And then when we start, no, it'll be new material, right? It'll probably, certainly, you know, it'll be similar in the way that, you know, you had just heard me talk about the inner critic because it's such a prevalent part, and that's what we talked about last year. But this year, it's more about techniques. So journaling will be the subject of the first workshop, for example, and the whole first workshop is all about me introducing what IFS journaling could look like, and then we literally do journaling together. So I'm just gonna, you know, sit there and ask you a few questions, and you can journal, and then you get all the questions and everything as well in the deck, so that you can do that by yourself in future if you wanted to. So yeah, long story short, the answer is no, it's not the same content, but certainly related. And yes, you will get an intro to IFS again before the course.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I'm sure people were having similar thoughts of like, if I took this last year, does it make sense to take it again this year? And it sounds like it does. This is like foundational. Like you said, it's like hoping that people leave with those building blocks to have more of that relationship. That makes me curious about, what if someone is worried, hearing you talk about the journaling. So what if someone is worried about being too emotionally overwhelmed, or like not like fearful of what they might uncover during some of this work? Like, what would you say to them?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's an important question too, right? Because IFS can go quite deep quite quickly. Even if you're just journaling, things might come up. And so I would say, I very much endeavor to keep this a very safe environment, so you can reach out to me if any such thing does happen, right? And also, if you feel comfortable, you can bring it up. If you don't, we can, look at it in a separate, conversation. What's important is get support, and have the group that you're maybe normally in. I know that you guys are all almost likely are members of Sweet Sobriety, so there is that support network. It's important to have support around this. You might already have a therapist or a coach. Reach out to them, reach out to me. Don't suffer in silence, and take really good care of yourself. Be aware, maybe even before you start, well, what are some of the resources that keep me safe, or make me feel safe, that I can draw on? Is it going for a walk? Is it talking to somebody? Is it reaching out to a support network? Is it, I don't know, exercising, right? What are the things that support you as well? So I would always say, take good care of yourself, and get support.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm always I know that that's a question that comes up in consultation with me too. Like, what if I don't like what's coming up, or what if it's too much? What do I do then? How will you support me? How will I have a supportive network around me? So yeah, great. I'll
I'll
stop
just say,
asking questions now. Go ahead.
no, that's good. I'll just say one more thing about this actually. In IFS therapy, so when I do one-on-one therapy, I always say we will not go any faster than the slowest part in the system, meaning that at any time, right, a part, like if there's any objection in the system, so to speak, whatever comes up, it's like, well, okay, yeah, it's all right. We won't go there. We're not going to force anything, right? And so I would also say you can do that for yourself. Like when you're doing journaling, you can there might be parts of you that feel uncomfortable, and they'll go, no, we're absolutely not going to go there. Vanessa asked that question, but I'm not going to write about that. That's totally fine, right? So it's always entirely optional to participate or not participate in anything. And the other thing I'll say is, it can also be quite fun, right? It doesn't have to be so scary. It can also be really fun to do these explorations. Like yesterday, I was talking to a client, and she revealed, when we talked about when I sort of introduced the idea of parts work, she was like, oh my God, I did an arts course and I'm really into this, and I could actually really draw these parts and paint these parts. And she got really excited about it, even though we were talking about quite a serious topic of food addiction and how do you get out of the food. So yes, it can be fun as well.
No, I love that. And I think it's also, lets you kind of be in that noticing self, right? So you're no longer like in the movie, you can pull back and watch the movie of your life, which also increases the self-compassion and allows you to be a little bit more curious, which obviously reduces shame as well. So that I think is a key factor in IFS that I personally love. It's very much more a mindfulness kind of way of being in the world.
Absolutely, that's so true. And I love that you mentioned shame, because, when we gain more self-compassion, this shame inside is reduced, right? Because we know, we realize, oh my God, of course we were doing this all our lives, How could we have not done this? How could we have not developed these extreme parts? And that is so healing, because I think, shame is so underlying all trauma or addiction. And I know that in my own therapy journey, shame is that yucky thing that was the hardest to get in touch with. It's just so painful. And yes, it reduces by doing this practice, because we can get in touch with the deepest motivations of our parts and what they want us to do, and why are they acting the way they're acting. Yeah.
So I love that you said we won't go any faster than the slowest part. also having heard you say it goes pretty deep, pretty fast, right? All of these things. So I guess, I think as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, wow, this is it. It's only 3 weeks. What if I want more? Then what?
Mhm.
Then what do I do?
Yeah, that's it, right? Um, Yes, that is a really great question. What if I want more? So you can nowadays find so much on IFS, right? So you might get a taste for IFS in this workshop, and you've got a few tools. You might then find that you want to read some books, which I can recommend. You can start already if you like. There's a book called No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. It's very accessible, very well known, very simply written. It's not about addiction, it's just about IFS. It's really great. It's got some self practices in it. So there's lots to read, there's lots of information, there are lots of courses, and of course there's individual therapy, right? Whether it's with me, of course, but there are many other IFS therapists across the world, and you can actually find IFS therapists in a global IFS directory, or whatever country you're in, they usually have a sort of local directory as well. But yeah, nowadays there is so much. There are lots of workshops by different therapists or coaches or training institutes on IFS that you can do as well. I do also do a 4-week sort of signature group that runs regularly. One of them, or the next one, is running in August this year, and it's 4 weeks of content around what is IFS. So again, you'll get an intro, but then it's specific to food addiction and disordered eating. So it's kind of like, what are the eating parts involved in this addictive process, and how do I map them? How do I dialogue with them? So that is a very special group that's very dear to my heart. I run them regularly because it's really rich in terms of having discussions with the group around what are their experiences with their particular parts. And we often notice how so many of us have very similar parts when it comes to the food, but then there are these nuances, and everybody's different at the same time. And that's what's so fascinating. What else can you do? Yeah, there is lots and lots you can do with IFS, and certainly I can point you into directions of resources as well.
Great. Well, if nobody has any questions, we're not going to hold you hostage, everyone. We hope that you got everything that you need. If you do have more questions, please just email us and we will make sure to get them to Vanessa, and Vanessa can answer them before the course starts, which it's starting next week.
May 9th.
Following week.
May 9th in the US. May 9th.
May 10th in Australia. That's right.
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah. So it'll be Friday evenings Eastern time for 3 weeks, Saturday mornings in Australia. Yeah.
That's right. Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah. So starting May 9th / May 10th, depending on where you are in the world. It gets a little confusing that way, but hopefully we worked out the time zones for everybody. And if anybody has a question about that, you can just reach out to me. If you don't know what time that is in your time zone, just let me know. I'm happy to do the conversion for you so that we get you to the right place at the right time.
Right.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Thank you, Vanessa. We appreciate you so much.
Lovely to see you. Bye.
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 If you like what you heard today, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.